Jerome Increase Case. His monument in downtown Racine cites this frontier thresherman as an inventor, developer, and manufacturer of mechanized threshing machines and steam traction engines. Business leader, mayor of Racine, Wisconsin State Senator, president of Racine County Agricultural Society, founder of Wisconsin Academy of Science, Arts, and Letters. The plaque on this monument notes that he developed threshers to replace flails and steam-powered tractors to retire the horse-drawn plow. He built and sold more threshing machines and steam engines than any other man. And during his time, his factories employed 1/6 of all the people in Racine. He founded the company now known as J.I. Case Company, which grew to become an international leader in agricultural and construction equipment. This was Jerome Increase Case, a man important to the history of Racine and the history of agriculture in America and throughout the world. He has also been honored by having Racine's largest high school named after him. His story begins not in Racine, Wisconsin, however, but in Williamstown, New York in 1819. Jerome I. Case was the youngest son of Caleb and Deborah Jackson Case. His father was a New England descendant. His mother was a member of the family of U.S. President Andrew Jackson. The Case farm in New York was a wheat farm, and despite the flat, stony soil, the family prospered. Young Jerome took his place beside his father and older brothers in the fields, plowing, planting, and cultivating by hand and horsepower, scything the grain in the late summer, flailing out the kernels of wheat on the barn floor through the winter. Jerome attended school only when he could be spared from farm chores. However, he read as much as he could get his hands on, especially farm journals and newspapers. One evening when he was 16, Jerome came upon an article in the Genesee Farmer, which told of a new machine called the groundhog that threshed wheat mechanically. The next day, he and his father went to a neighborhood farm to watch a demonstration of the thresher. The groundhog proved to be nothing more than a crank-driven, spike-toothed cylinder which beat the grain out of the heads of wheat. It was such a vast improvement over flailing that Caleb purchased one of the machines for himself and also became the local agent for the groundhog. For the next 6 years, Jerome became the family thresherman, tending the crude machine through the harvests. But Jerome Case searched for something better, a machine which would pile the straw at one end, blow the chaff, and deliver the grain separately. This would eliminate much hand labor and would truly mechanize threshing. Noting his son's interest in machinery, Caleb Case encouraged Jerome to enroll for a term at the Rensselaer Oswego Academy at nearby Mexico, New York. And it was there that his plans for the future took form. Hearing about the richness of land in the Northwest Territory, and sensing that wheat growing was definitely moving westward into the broad prairie country, he decided to go to Wisconsin to thresh wheat and establish a thresher manufacturing business. The following spring, in 1842, at the age of 22, Jerome Increase Case shipped out from Oswego, New York, bound for the Welland Canal, the Great Lakes, and Chicago. From there, he rode the 70-mile route by wagon to Rochester, Territory of Wisconsin, founded by pioneers from Rochester, New York. With him, he brought 6 groundhog threshers to resell to farmers along the way. He sold 5 and arrived in Rochester with 1 remaining thresher, which he had saved for earning money as a thresherman and for experimentation. For the next year and a half, Case worked at building his first threshing machine. In 1844, the first Case thresher made its debut before a small crowd of well-wishers and skeptics. The American wheat farmer had no way of knowing it, but on that windy morning on the farm of Henry Cady in Rochester, Wisconsin, J.I. Case had made a major step toward freeing agriculture from hand labor and small harvests. Failing to obtain water rights for his planned factory at Rochester, Case moved to Racine, 20 miles east on the shore of Lake Michigan. There he established a factory in a small rented shop on the banks of the Root River. His factory grew quickly to keep pace with sales, as Case constantly improved his thresher and the horse treadmill unit that powered the thresher. By 1848, the Case factory was the leading industry and largest employer in Racine. By 1862, a much improved sweep horsepower unit, the mounted Woodbury, was added to the Case line. It operated with horses that were harnessed either singly or in pairs to long levers which looked like spokes on a horizontal wheel. The sweepstakes thresher, as it was called, could thresh 200 to 300 bushels of wheat per day. Over the next few years, the Case Company produced more and more products to aid the farmer in his work. Chief among them were the apron thresher, the eclipse thresher, and later, the agitator thresher. In 1865, at the end of the American Civil War, the first of the famous Case Eagle trademarks was adopted. It was patterned after Old Abe, a magnificent bald eagle that had served as the mascot for Company C of the 8th Wisconsin Regiment and had been named after President Lincoln. The eagle had accompanied the soldiers in many battles, and it was said that whenever a military band played, Old Abe would shriek his war cry. Jerome Case was impressed with this famous bird, and he chose it as a symbol of his young and expanding company. Over the years, the eagle symbol moved from its original low perch to a high tree limb. Later, to match the company's international growth, the eagle was placed atop a globe of the world. The eagle and globe was the company's trademark for 75 years and was finally retired when this modern symbol was developed in 1969 using the Case name. In 1869, the first Case steam engine was produced, to be followed by 36,000 more over the years. It was a portable steam engine mounted on wheels, but it had to be drawn to the work site. It was used for operating threshing machines by belt power. Old number 1, the first steam engine produced by Case, now stands at the main entrance to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. In 1876, a steam traction engine was developed which could move under its own power to any work location. It was awarded a gold medal for excellence at the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia. Soon, steam traction engines were not only powering threshing machines, but plowing and harrowing fields throughout the United States and Canada, as well as providing power for sawmills, well drilling, and other work. Case Company's first overseas sale came in 1879. A steam engine and a threshing machine were shipped to France to be displayed at the famed Paris Exposition, where they won a gold medal. Afterward, the thresher was sold to a French farmer, opening up new horizons to the company from Racine. Soon, Midwestern salesmen who had never seen the ocean were journeying to Europe, Asia, and South America to sell the wares of the company. It was not long before the Case name became as familiar in the wheat fields of Russia, Greece, and Germany as it was in the United States and Canada. In 1884, Jerome Case became involved in an incident that has come to typify his company's determination to build high-quality products. A Case thresher on a Minnesota farm would not perform satisfactorily. Despite efforts of the dealer and then a plant mechanic to repair it, the machine refused to function. When Mr. Case heard of this bulky thresher, he took a train to Minnesota to fix the machine himself. Before a large crowd, amazed that the president of the company would travel all that way, Jerome Case worked on his thresher. Even he could not get it to work. Disgusted that such a product had left his factory, he doused the machine with kerosene and set it ablaze. The next day, the farmer was presented with a new Case thresher. The business success of Jerome Case is only part of his story. He packed a lifetime of constructive living into his 72 years. He became the most influential private citizen in his adopted city of Racine and served 3 terms as mayor. He also served as a state senator and was president of the county and state agricultural societies. He married Lydia Ann Bull in 1849, and from that marriage came 7 children. One of them, Jackson Case, also later served as mayor of Racine. Jerome Case owned a stable of horses that became world famous. Most famous was J.I.C., the first horse ever to hold world records in both trotting and pacing. Case used this championship symbol in advertising to help promote his company. The Case factory was the cradle of Racine industry. He directly employed thousands of workers and bought raw material and supplies from many others. Jerome Increase Case died in Racine on December 22nd, 1891. Unfortunately, he never got to see the first gas-driven tractor, which rolled out of the Case plant only months after his death. A writer of the day had this to say about Jerome Case: "Few men make so little personal display of wealth as he. His habits are unostentatious, his tastes simple, and he regards the good of all a thing to be desired. His home is elegant but not imposing. His associations are those of a true Westerner, breezy, candid, trusting. No man will be more missed." In the 9 decades since Jerome Case's death, the J.I. Case Company has undergone exceptional change and growth. Case has harnessed its technology to meet the needs of construction as well as agriculture. J.I. Case is now a part of Tenneco, a diversified worldwide energy company. Today, Case has 11 plants overseas as well as 11 in the United States, employing 26,000 people. What Jerome Increase Case began in 1842 with his small primitive threshing machine has developed into an industrial enterprise that sells agricultural and construction equipment the world over, an enterprise that might have surprised even him. But the commitment to meet mankind's basic needs is very much alive in his company today, just as it was in the days of Jerome Increase Case.
You are cordially invited to attend the Case-O-Matic world premiere in fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, was the way the invitation read. The invitation from J.I. Case Company of Racine, Wisconsin, to its dealers all over the country. The result was the world's largest civilian airlift, as more than 3,500 farm equipment dealers came to view firsthand the most startling new development in farm tractor design and performance in over 25 years. If Case thought enough of its new line to spend $1 million on a premiere showing, well, its dealers thought enough of Case to know they must really have something big. And so they came. Even the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce joined in making them welcome, with a typical Western touch, pretty girls serving cool, refreshing orange juice. Headquarters for each group of dealers during the 3-day stay was the Hotel Westward Ho, right in the heart of downtown Phoenix. But the show area, site of the world premiere, was about 25 miles out of town, right out in the middle of some genuine Arizona wide-open spaces. Here was the kind of room they'd needed to pitch a mammoth circus tent for the main arena, accommodate the more than 50 carloads of equipment transported to Phoenix especially for the show, and even build a test track the size of a football field to demonstrate features of the new line. The 1960 Case-O-Matic line, if you please, available now in 1958. No wonder the crisp morning desert air fairly crackled with suspense and excitement, now that the moment they'd all been waiting for was almost at hand. Rumors had been spreading like wildfire among the dealers. Case was out to take over the leadership of the farm equipment field with the hottest line in the history of the industry. Case executive Mark Reutemann, who spearheaded the entire program, started things rolling with a friendly greeting, plus some bold predictions that had them all sitting up and taking notice.
To the beginning of a new era in farm equipment history. We have brought you thousands of miles to unveil to you a new development in farm tractors that will completely obsolete old tractors on farms today. Beginning in 1958, you will be able to offer to your farmer friends a brand new tractor line whose operation, performance, and lugging ability surpasses any previous conception of tractor operation and design. The Case-O-Matic drive brings to the farmer, for the first time in history, a tractor that eliminates clutching, eliminates shifting, stalling, that automatically, without the operator's help, senses the load, doubles pull power, instantly, precisely, automatically. And that is an old gentleman. A new look in tractor appearance has also been born. The 1960 Case-O-Matic line brings automotive styling, gentlemen, such as the farm equipment industry has never seen before. No longer need a farmer buy an old-fashioned 25-year-old tractor and park it next to his brand-new 1958 model car. The Case-O-Matic tractor, with its hydraulic features and its new look, is actually more advanced more than any new car you can buy today. And what's more, the Case-O-Matic tractor not only doubles the pull power, it will also add thousands of dollars of work output on just about any farm. Gentlemen, the world premiere culminates a multi-million-dollar product development program, one of the biggest the industry has ever seen. And now, let's take this big step forward into 1960. Today, right now, in 1958. Gentlemen, I now present to you the new look in farm tractors the world over.
Gentlemen, it gives us great pleasure to present to you what we sincerely believe is the largest, the handsomest, and the best engineered line of farm tractors in the world. Styled to please the eye, engineered to please the customer, and priced to please the pocketbook, and a size that's just right for every farm purpose. And now, the New Look family. As they pass in review, notice the deluxe styling and convenience features designed and built into all models regardless of size. The Case 200, a two-plow model for smaller farms. And the Case 300, a rugged performer in the three-plow class. The New Look 500, a big tractor with the weight, power, and traction needed to handle 4 plows in most soil. And the new Case 700, a 4 to 5 plow size with a wide range of speeds. When big fellows get together, the 700 on the left, 500 on the right, and entering center, the Case 900, giant of the line, a brute for power, with performance capabilities to suit the biggest farms. And there you have them, 5, count 'em, New Look models, and ain't they purty? But that isn't all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here come the stars of our show with special talent. The Case-O-Matic drive that doubles full power, increases torque, senses the load instantly, precisely, automatically, without clutching, without shifting, without stalling. Case-O-Matics in models 400, 600, 800, for 3, 4, and 5 plows, respectively. But you haven't seen them working yet. The big surprise is still to come. Remember, Case-O-Matics developed more than twice the full power of the same tractor equipped with conventional drive. Yes, sir, the Case tractor family is a big one. As a matter of fact, the biggest in the world. You begin to realize how big when you see them all together. Now, furthering the completeness of the line, a quick look at these versatile utility construction models. The 310 crawler, for example, will accommodate such front-mounted equipment as bulldozer, angle dozer, and loader, so the 310 can be used for custom or contract work as well as around the farm. For hauling it or other Case utility models, there's the Model 90 trailer. Just latch on and away you go. An ever-popular performer in the utility group is the Model 210 combination tractor loader and the 310 crawler loader, which is one of the best bargains on the market in the utility field. The wheel-type 310 loader backhoe has more reach, more capacity, more endurance, and more dependability than ever before available at moderate price. And the 310 crawler angle dozer is the answer to snow or earth-moving problems for farmers either north or south. This heavier-duty industrial crawler is now available with hydraulically operated angle dozer for maximum operator convenience in blade adjustment. Also engineered for full operating convenience is the hydraulic tilt crown dozer, which automatically changes pitch and side-to-side position. And that's another Case engineering first. You've met the representatives of the entire Case tractor line. 124 models in all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, you have seen a new look. You've seen the Case-O-Matic line of tractors. You've seen our utility line. You've seen our crawlers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you believe you have seen quite a show, quite a display of new products. Well, let me tell you something. You haven't seen anything yet. Because now, beginning in 1958, we will start a nationwide tug-of-war contest. Yes, gentlemen, a tug-of-war. The tradition in America has been to test the ability of one man against another, to test the performance of one machine against another. And that is what we are going to do right now. Because, gentlemen, what we want is your farmer customer to decide for himself which is the better machine, the brand new 1960 Case-O-Matic model or the line offered by our competitors. To give you a basic idea of the tug-of-war, we will let our Mr. Murphy from our engineering and testing division introduce the tug-of-war and tell you more about it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The demonstrations you are about to see are fair contests in every sense of the word. We have tried to select representative makes and models of competitive tractors for each of the power classes concerned. They have been checked out by their respective dealers and by our own engineers to make sure they are delivering all that is claimed for them by their manufacturer. They have been equitably weighted for optimum traction. Comparable working speeds are used, tires of like or as near like size as possible. Drawbars have been adjusted to identical height, and a rigid pull bar used to avoid any unfairness in the method of linking the tractors together. So, it's a fair contest, and may the best equipment win. Let's have the first tug-of-war.
The first event pairs the Case-O-Matic 400 with the latest version of Ollis Chalmers D14, a fair match in engine size and in tractor size. Drawbar heights are comparable, and a rigid bar is used so one doesn't get the jump on the other due to linkage slack. Okay, both drivers are set. Let's have at it. Pull! Okay, he lost the first round, but let's give him another chance. And this time, Case 400 driver, let him drag you back a little. Now, pull! So, the winner. Score 1 for Case-O-Matic 400. Now, to further prove the tremendous lugging ability of the Case-O-Matic drive, we have gone out of the 400 class and selected a bigger and heavier tractor, the International Harvester 350. Now, will the 400 driver please give this opponent a little head start, too? Let him drag you a few feet. Okay. Pull! Well, so much for the lightweight division. Moving up into the middleweight class, the Case-O-Matic 600 will take on 3 leading contenders. First, the Ford 960, which has a larger engine and more horsepower than the Case 600. But what counts here today, and what counts on the farm, gentlemen, is pull power, extra torque capacity that pays off in sheer lugging ability. Once again, both units ready. Pull! Okay, Case-O-Matic. Let's give him a second chance. And a little head start. How about it? Ready? Pull! Number 2 contender coming up. Now it's the familiar green of John Deere, their 620 model. Both units ready? Pull! Two down and one to go. Here again, we're going out of the 600 K-Somatic tractor's power and weight class and have selected the bigger, brand new Ollis Chalmers D17. Ready? Pull! Well, now you know why Case brought you all the way to Phoenix. You have to see K-Somatic performance to believe it. Plus, of course, the new look styling, the deluxe Case posture health seat, and operator convenience it takes to make a truly modern tractor, as up-to-date as 1960. But back to the performance story, and on with the tug of war as the heavyweights go into action. The K-Somatic 800 versus the comparably sized John Deere 720. Here again, full power is what counts. Almost ready. Set. And pull! The next K-Somatic opponent on the program is International's Model 450 four-cylinder tractor, advertised by its manufacturer as the world's record pulling tractor. Once again, 800 driver, please give your opponent the advantage on the start. Engines running. Ready? Pull! Now let's see what happens when our heavyweight 800 takes on a bigger, super heavyweight, the Deere 820. Remember, here again, the Case 800 is out of its power and weight class. Also remember, we are not comparing horsepower or work capacity here. We just want to point out the extra lugging power of K-Somatic drive. Are we ready? Pull! No doubt about that. The winner, the K-Somatic 800. There are different ways of demonstrating torque capacity and lugging ability, and the tug of war is a spectacular one. Somewhat more scientific, however, is the drawbar load test using a specially prepared load unit, which requires a given amount of pull to start and move it. In this case, 4,000 pounds of constant pull at the drawbar. First up now is the same John Deere 720 that we just saw compete in the tug of war. And he's about ready. So, driver, pull it if you can. And he can. Well, let's give the big red job a crack at it. The International Harvester 450, claimed by its manufacturer as the world's record pulling tractor. Till today, anyway. Okay, driver. Pull! Let me say, incidentally, that the 450 International was operating in torque amplifier speed, 4.5 miles an hour. Speeds, weight, tire size, and other significant factors have been equalized as far as possible to make this a fair test of the ability of these tractors to start and pull a load. Now, last but not least, the K-Somatic 800. Pull! She stirs, she moves, she goes! And that gives us a winner and a new world champion, the K-Somatic 800. Just imagine what she'll do on the farm. Well, you've seen Case-O-Matic in action as promised. Now a sampling of what the exclusive Terra-Matic drive in Case crawlers will do. A tug-of-war between the Case 1000 crawler and its opposite number in the same class, but 1,000 pounds heavier, Caterpillar's Model 955. All set for the battle. First, with both units operating in second gear. Ready? Pull! Okay, Case, that's far enough. Let's give it another try. But this time, with the Case still in second gear, but the Caterpillar in first gear. Drivers ready? Then pull! Well, what do you know? He did it. How about that, fellas? Well, we promised you action, and you have it. Courtesy of the sensational new 1960 Case-O-Matic line, the most complete selection of equipment offered by any manufacturer in the field. Now, you are going to have a chance to get on this equipment and experience the thrill of driving it yourself. But first, there's a lot more show to come, so don't go away.
Yes, a lot more show to come, as the seemingly endless array of shiny new Case equipment waiting to make an entrance clearly indicates. Over 50 carloads of equipment in all. A 3-hour-long show under the big top, which left the dealers thrilled and excited. Not only the 124 different models of Case tractors, but the many special items of equipment like combines, balers, and light and heavy-duty forage harvesters, and others too numerous to mention. And like the man said, before he left Phoenix, every dealer had a chance to drive the new Case-O-Matics on the test track, built especially for the purpose, right in the show area. It was one way of letting him make sure his eyes hadn't been playing tricks on him, as he watched the almost too good to be true performance of the product in action against tough competition during the show program. The cowboys weren't really cowboys at all, but company hands whose job it was to give dealers a 90-second education on the whys and wherefores of operating a 1960 Case-O-Matic. And that's just about how much time it took. It's that easy. The track itself was like most things in this life, simple at first, but it gets tougher as you go along. Obstacle course, coming up. Each obstacle had a certain demonstration purpose. This one, the maze, was planned to show maneuverability and the smooth, easy control made possible with Case-O-Matic drive. Of course, any farmer with fences laid out like that needs more than a new tractor. He needs a course in fence building. One of them was called the washboard, and crossing it was about the same as riding cross grain over a deep furrowed field baked hard by the sun. That foam rubber cushion seat felt mighty comfortable. And the Case-O-Matic just kept rolling along. No clutching, no shifting. Brake control, that's all. Of course, there were plenty of kibitzers, other dealers mostly, who had already had their turn, giving free advice to drivers like this one trying to hit the backup marker, as you would hook up to an implement. It calls for perfect coordination of man and machine to gently and smoothly make the contact which lights the light. Good one. Made it in spite of all the helpful advice. Bet he could thread a needle with that tractor if he tried. Any dealers who may have had some lingering doubts about Case-O-Matic drive lost them on the Arizona hill climb. The idea was to roll halfway up the hill and come to a stop. Hold position with just the foot throttle, then roll back a little, hold again using the throttle, and then head for the top. No braking, no clutching, no stalling, and same difference if there'd been a load trailing along behind. They were over the top with Case-O-Matic drive, and Case-O-Matic drive was over the top with the dealers. Because actually the Phoenix story is just beginning all over the country on every farm. Case-O-Matic Drive not only brings new standards of performance to the tractor itself, but what's even more important, your old or new implements drawn by a Case-O-Matic tractor will take on new life. Case-O-Matic Drive will set new standards of performance for practically every tool and machine you use. Your plow, for example, will practically double its life because when drawn by a Case-O-Matic tractor, it automatically cushions the shocks, eliminates the strain, and lets you go effortlessly, easily through the toughest spots. You can start your plowing earlier, gain valuable time because of Case-O-Matic's better traction, less spin out. Your cultivating, for instance, will take on new standards of efficiency with Case-O-Matic Drive. You can operate at faster speeds with more precision and greater safety than ever thought possible before. For power takeoff operation, Case-O-Matic has no equal. It will set new standards of capacity and performance on your old or new machines. Combines, balers, forage harvesters, indeed will take on new life. Case-O-Matic Drive automatically compensates for increased loads, at the same time maintaining full RPM at the power takeoff shaft. Results? More efficiency, greater output, a cleaner harvest, all of which adds up to greater yields, greater profits. Yes, Case-O-Matic Drive, in tractor, in implement, and in machine capacity, will add thousands of dollars to your income and pay for itself time and time again. Well, that's pretty much the Phoenix story. The highlights, anyway. Oh, they had a chance to see some of the other equipment actually at work. Or the same unit in the loader version, which incidentally does a real man-sized job of moving the good earth from here to there. And no equipment man worthy of the name could keep his eyes off the workings of the 310 loader backhoe. But eventually, all good things must end. And after 3 thrilling days in Phoenix, the Case dealers, excited, enthusiastic, and eager, hit the skyways for home. How excited? Well, orders exceeded all expectations for the biggest and best year in the 115-year history of the J.I. Case Company. Before the first Case-O-Matic tractor was delivered to a dealer, orders $150 million strong were piling up at the Case plants. And if you haven't already read about it in magazines and newspapers across the country, just ask your Case dealer to tell you about the big show, the big 1960 Case-O-Matic line, and what it means to you and every one of your neighbors who from now on can look to Case-O-Matic Drive to ease your day, increase your efficiency, and set new standards of farm equipment operation the world over. This presentation has been brought to you by the J.I. Case Company as a service to farmers and tractor users. These revolutionary Case-O-Matic tractors are now rolling off the assembly line. Your host, the J.I. Case dealer, has already given you your world premiere program. He will also be happy to give you all the details on the Case Cropway purchase plan, the plan that virtually eliminates the need for ready cash. Your old tractor is probably more than enough for down payment, and you can take several crop years to pay the balance. The Cropway purchase plan also applies to Case combines, balers, forage harvesters, any of the more than 300 tools and machines comprising one of the world's largest agricultural lines, all produced and warranted by the J.I. Case Company, first in quality the world over for more than 115 years.
And now, as the grand finale to this world premiere showing, your host, the Case dealer, has a special message for you. Just as soon as the lights go on, you will be handed a form where you may indicate your requirements for the new Case machines which you have just seen in action. All you need to do is set down your equipment needs for 1958, whether they are new look or Case-O-Matic tractors, utility industrial machines, crawlers, or harvesting equipment. Should you confirm your requirements into an accepted order within 30 days, you will receive, through the courtesy of your Case dealer, your choice of a beautiful 17-jewel ladies' or men's world premiere watch, absolutely free. Remember, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by taking advantage of this special world premiere offer. So be sure to complete your form and hand it to your Case dealer before you leave. Thank you.
The All-Wheel Drive Company has been servicing Iowans since 1934. As a result of good customer service, we have experienced continual growth in all aspects of our business. For our customer convenience, we now have dealerships in 6 locations: Sioux City, Harlan, Fort Dodge, Des Moines, Davenport, and Cedar Falls. All of the branches look and operate much like this one in Cedar Falls. Each branch has its own manager with responsibility over the sales, service, and parts departments. We have approximately 3,200 different parts in our inventory. Stocking parts for all of the many kinds of equipment we sell is quite a task. In our equipment inventory, we have 4 sizes of these case crawlers: the 350, 450, 850, 1150. We also have the entire case line of loader backhoes. There's a 480, this ever-popular 580, the 680 Construction King, and the king of the hill, the 780. We think the case loaders, from the W7 to the new W18 and W20, up to the big W24s and W26s, are the finest wheel loaders of their size on the market. We also have the franchise for the Drott line of cranes and excavators, a subsidiary of Case. This is probably the best crane and excavator line available. With the recent addition of Vibromax to our equipment line, we'll be able to meet your compaction needs to keep pace with new legislation for soil densities in new construction and road building. To round out our equipment line in the interest of being able to fill more of your equipment needs, we also carry Melro Bobcat loaders, Sullair air compressors, Miller and General trailers, Pettibone high lifts, Ingram rollers, Raygo compaction equipment, PCM earth boring equipment, and Henke plows and sweepers. Of course, stocking parts is only part of the story. Having the right parts helps us take better care of you in our service department. With excellent parts availability and factory-trained mechanics, we ensure sound maintenance with little need for callbacks on the same item. Having a service department within 100 miles of anyone in Iowa makes it possible for us to reach any contractor in the state within an hour and a half. We can either send a man out to make on-site repairs or haul the equipment into our shop on a lowboy. We even have a company plane, which we use in administering the 6 branch stores, in sales contact work, and often to fly in an urgently needed part. Customer service is our key. With our highly skilled parts and service staff, outstanding location and facilities, and a well-trained customer-oriented sales force, we have more to offer you than ever before. We want you, our customer, to be treated as if we were the customer. That's what we at All-Wheel Drive Company offer, and will continue to offer through continued leadership in service, people,
for 76 big two-wheel horsepower, the 1570, or if you really want to get into the spirit of things, the limited edition 1570 with bicentennial styling. The spirit of 76. Your first inclination might be to compare the 1570 to the 1370. Well, we are going to do just that, to prove to you that this big two-wheel power is not just a warmed-over 1370. We'll start right here at the radiator and work back to the drawbar. The radiator height is 3 inches greater and the capacity is 2 quarts more. Let's take a look at the engine. It's a 504 all right, but a hybrid of the ones used in the 2470 and 2670. You know what they say about hybrids. They're more vigorous than their parents. The cylinder head and 17-millimeter nozzles are the same as the 2670. So is the head gasket. It has the wider fire ring. The sleeves are hardened like the 2670. The rated engine speed is 2100 RPM. Big power requires a free-breathing engine, so the entire intake system is new. Notice we've even moved the pre-screener outside of the hood to make sure there are no restrictions. As you can see, this 504 is truly a hybrid. To handle this big power, we designed a new transmission from the case down through the gears and bearings. Let's start with the power shift. 2 more plates have been added to C2 and C3 clutch. C1 also has an additional 2 plates added. The C4 clutch plate has new friction material. This is a new high-energy absorbing material. The RPS carrier is longer to accommodate the greater clutch capacity, just like the 2470. Bigger horsepower means more torque transmitted to the powertrain. So to hold this torque, we have forged the RPS sun gear on the shaft. This will not affect your splitting procedure except that the transmission input shaft will remain in the transmission when the tractor is split. The 4-speed gears are wider to handle this horsepower, as you can see when compared to a 1370 gear. The shifter forks are squattier and stronger, and the pads are forged as part of the fork on the 1570. The shifter collars are smaller and stronger. The smaller collar has less of a tendency to cock and bind, providing a smoother and more positive shifting. As an added safety feature, we have designed a neutral start switch on both shifter shafts. The adjustment procedure is the same as the 24 and 2670. The 1570 has a bronze thrust washer between each shift collar, which will ensure long life on the face of the gear hubs. Naturally, bigger horsepower means stronger differentials. So we designed a 4-pinion 1570 versus a 3-pinion 1370. Look at the size of this 1570 spiral bevel. The only change in servicing of the differential is the method of setting the rolling torque on the pinion shaft. The details of this are in your 1570 service manual. We've even designed more brake capacity to hold this big horsepower machine on field turns. We added 1 more plate than the 1370. Shown here is the increased capacity of the 1570 final drive sun gear over the 1370. The planetary gears are wider also. Look at the comparison we have here. To support this larger final drive, we have a heavier, stronger rear axle housing and ring gear. To harness this power, we naturally had to increase the size of the rear axle from 3 3/4 to 3 7/8 inches. New 30.5 by 32 tires are available to make sure there is enough rubber on the ground. Also new for 76 is the park lock parking brake on the 1270, 1370, and 1570. Here's how the park lock works. The lock is operated by the range lever. You simply move the range lever into neutral and over into park position. When you move the range lever on the console, the connecting linkage either engages the lock arm with the differential ring gear or releases it. Here's what some of the iron looks like. The PTO for the 1570 is entirely new, from gear teeth to cover. The 1570 PTO gears are helical cut gears to provide more gear teeth area in the same space, as well as quieter running gears under load. There's even a new hydraulic PTO brake. Here is how the brake works. Whenever the tractor engine is running, there's a constant supply of oil to the PTO brake modulator spool shown here. This oil is supplied from the power shift diff lock side of the flow divider valve. Once the oil reaches the PTO brake modulator spool, it flows around the lands of the modulator spool to the brake piston, pushing the brake piston against the PTO clutch carrier, applying the brake. To release the PTO brake and engage the clutch, the operator moves the lever on the operator console to the engaged position, allowing oil to flow around the PTO spool and the flow divider to the PTO housing. As the oil enters the PTO housing, it flows around the top of the brake modulator spool to the clutch piston. Once the cavities in the clutch piston are filled, pressure begins to build. At approximately 15 to 18 psi, the PTO brake modulator spool moves, blocking off the oil supply to the PTO brake. This pressure continues to build until it reaches 200 psi and locks up the piston and the clutch plates. When the brake modulator spool moved, it uncovered a return port to the sump, allowing the captive pressurized oil behind the PTO brake piston to return to sump and release the brake. Now that we have seen the new powertrain and the 1570, let's look at some of the other new features. First, the all-new 7-way adjustable Easy Rider seat. The Easy Rider is available on the entire Agri-King line for $76. The 7 operator adjustments are: the back tilts plus or minus 5 degrees. The arm rest pivot, up or down. The operator weight adjustment. There is even an indicator that tells you when the adjustment is set correctly. Simply sit in the seat and tighten or loosen the weight adjustment knob until the indicator just shows the adjustment is then correct for your weight. There is a fore and aft seat adjustment of 4 inches. The seat cushion height is adjustable 4 inches. The seat cushion angle is adjustable 4 degrees to relieve the back of your legs. A 20-degree swivel right or left. How about that? The 2 adjustments that service technicians should know about are: first, the swivel friction adjustment, which controls how easy or hard the Easy Rider will swivel. To adjust, simply tighten the nuts on the swivel shown here snug. Then, back them off 1/4 turn. Some operators may want the swivel looser or tighter to accommodate them. Simply back off more or less than 1/4 turn. Do not use grease on the swivel, as it will only collect dirt and wear faster. Use only light oil sparingly to lubricate. Second, the only other mechanical adjustment is the gear mesh adjustment on the weight control knob. This adjustment is made by loosening the 2 bolts under the front of the seat cushion. To allow the bracket that supports the small gear to slide fore and aft, the small gear can be moved into tighter or looser mesh with the large gear. An approximate setting is to move the small gear into full mesh with the large gear. Then pull the weight control knob back about 1/16 of an inch. The gear mesh will determine how hard or easy the weight control knob works. The steering hand pump has also been changed in the seal area. Here are what the new seals look like. The seal, backup washer, spacer, and dust seal are arranged in the hand pump in the order shown here. To install the seals, there is one important precaution that must be taken. That is to use a soft plastic tape over the drilled hole in the shaft before installing the seal. The purpose of the tape is to act as a thimble and prevent cutting the seal on the edge of the hole as you install it. There is a seal kit available for earlier Model 12 and 1370s. The number is A45535. We have even increased the size of the hitch mounting bolts in anticipation of the bigger loads this tractor is capable of pulling. The transmission case is even tapped with right-hand threads on the left-hand side and left-hand threads on the right-hand side to make sure bolts won't work loose. We said this tractor was new from radiator to drawbar. Well, we went even beyond the drawbar to the new convertible quick hitch coupler. All new for '76, a Category 3. Category 2 convertible hitch coupler. This means it will handle both Category 3 and 3 narrow as well as Category 2. And easy to change too. Here's all it takes to change from one category to another. Just loosen up the clamp bolts on each end of the coupler. Then remove the locating nut and bolt. Now, simply slide the coupler ends either in or out. When the cross member is telescoped out, and in the upper leg holes, you have a Category 3 setting. When the cross member is telescoped in and located in the upper holes, you are set for Category 3 narrow. What is Category 3 narrow? This is a new category designed primarily for implements like the row crop cultivator, which are big and heavy enough to require Category 3 large pin size, but must be narrow like Category 2 at the hitch arms so they don't break off plant leaves. Here is another point of interest about Category 3 narrow. When hooking up to Category 2 implement, if it has too high mast holes to hook up to, you can raise the implement further off the ground if you use the Category 3 narrow position rather than Category 2. The Category 2 position is obviously with the cross member telescoped in and using the lower set of holes in the legs. So, no matter what flag your 1570s work under, you will have to admit they are big power from the ground up.